Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to Breakfast with More Youth Online, and this is Youth Split, a show that talks about things concerning the youth, be it spirituality, career, business, art, whatever it is. And our only hope is that you'll get inspired, educated, or entertained. And I am your host, Sharon Jogu. And today we have a very interesting topic, but first of all, let me introduce our guest. She has been here before. Her name is Mercy from Blissful Minds. You're welcome.
Thank you, Shelmith.
Yeah, and today we are going to talk about raising above socialization. And just to understand, what is socialization?
Thank you, Shelmith. And this is a very interesting topic. In fact, I've been wondering, when will you ever talk about this? Because it's something that is affecting very many members of our society, and especially the youth.
Yeah.
But they don't feel the effects until later on in their lives. And so, what would I say socialization is? Briefly and precisely, it is all about how you learn how to go about life, the way of doing life. It is the process of learning the social acceptable norms as a person fit to be able to fit in a society. How am I supposed to behave? How am I supposed to think? How am I supposed to act given different situations? So that is what socialization is all about.
Yeah, and how do we get socialized?
Well, we get socialized in quite different ways for different people, but a lot of studies have shown that for all of us, there seems to be a certain pattern that we tend to follow when it comes to socialization. And you see, Shelmith, you can imagine yourself by now. There is the way you go about life. There's a way when you are faced by a conflict, you resolve that conflict. And it's based on how you are socialized. So how did you get socialized? Through observation.
Yeah.
Looking at what the people who are older than you in your social units, especially the family setup, how they were resolving those conflicts. Yeah. So you learn by observation. Even if no one is telling you, look at what you are doing, you just look and you learn and you get socialized. Yeah. The other way of getting socialized is by imitation. Other than just looking, observing, you've seen, so the next time you imitate, you try and do what you've seen the older people than you in your family setup, in school, be it a teacher, and you imitate them. And without knowing, you are getting socialized. Yeah. You are getting acquainted with the way to go about how you are supposed to do life. Yeah. Then the third way we get socialized is by teaching. We are taught. And this is the time when our grandparents, and especially a long time ago, I don't really think it's happening nowadays so much, because we've become so much of a very closed-up nuclear family. But before, when we had the extended family at play in bringing up kids in the society, we would be taught stories about our culture. Yeah. And so we get socialized through teachings or learning through our elderly people, especially the grandparents, the elderly aunties and uncles. They are telling us about, Wangwa Makere, the story, or the 10 daughters of Gikuyu and Mumbi, so we get socialized and we understand how they were doing things, how their wedding ceremonies were traditionally by being taught. So our elder people took it upon themselves, and I believe in some cultures they are still doing it, to teach us. And they pass down information about our culture and to us. So those are just some of the ways how you can get socialized.
Yeah, and in passing down information, and you've talked about stories, can we say, like, my mom used to narrate stories, even if it's the Olga stories. And if I learn from the Olga story, and she'll teach you, there is this and this lesson. Is that how your socialization too?
Well, yeah, that is part of socialization. You learn how to behave as a mother, because you see, socialization, it's supposed to be teaching you ways of how to do life.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be doing life. So when you're a mother, how do you put your child to sleep? You read for them bedtime stories, or you tell them some stories. What kind of stories do you tell them? So that is a process of being socialized.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what are the different areas that we can get socialized?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Shelmith. What are the different areas that we can get socialized at? Come to think of it, by the time you are of your age as a youth, you have gone through quite a process. It's a process. And this process, you realize in every particular area of this somebody's life, of your life, Shelmith, there's a way you behave. When it comes to relationships, there's a way you behave. When it comes to reading, there's a way you behave. When it comes to handwriting, there's a way you write. When it comes to pronouncing words, there's the way you go about it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
When it comes to praying, there is the way you go about it. Why? Because of the way you are socialized in those different areas. And so I'll just name the most basic areas where we get socialized. And the first one, we get socialized in the area of our culture.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make it very clear that culture has two hands. There is the hand of the traditional culture, and there's the hand of the religion as culture, because religion is also a culture. But now this one, we call it religious culture. Traditional culture is the one that you say, I'm an African, I'm a Mkamba, and this is how we do our traditional marriage. This is how we do circumcision. This is how we do rites of passage. That is the traditional culture. Yeah. Then the religious culture is what you do, what you believe in, which church you go to, what do you ascribe yourself to, and what are the... When you look at culture, it's all about rituals, practices, ceremonies at the end of the day. And it's the same thing we do in churches. Yeah. We have a Sunday service, which is a ceremony. We have the Lord's table and all that. And so one of the areas is cultural. You get socialized in the area of culture. You understand how, as Kikuyus, as Merus, as an American, as an Egyptian, how you go about things based on your culture. And you get socialized in the culture of your religion. How do you pray? Do you kneel down? Are you a Catholic? Do you face make? Are you a Muslim? Do you pray when your hands are together? Do you close your eyes? Do you cover your head? Are you a Jew? At the end of the day, you are getting socialized culturally. Right. So the other area you can get socialized is academically. Like I mentioned, if you look at... Is it not funny how, if you looked at the handwriting of a Briton,
right,
and you look at the handwriting of an American, you look at the handwriting of a Canadian, you look at the handwriting of a Kenyan, by the way, they are totally different. Do you know why? Because I have come to discover we are socialized different, even on the way we hold our pen when we are writing. And that dictates how our handwriting ends up to look like. We are socialized to pronounce words in baby class, in pre-unit, differently based on our locations, our country of origin, our first language. We are socialized to write in a certain manner. That is socialization. We are socialized to read differently. We can be reading the same thing, but the way you are reading it and the way I'm reading, it's very different. We are reading the same book, but we read it very differently because of the way we've been socialized academically.
Yeah.
We even, when you look at the different systems, especially now in Kenya, we have different systems. There's the 844 Kenyan system, then there's the British, there's the American system, IG something. And when you look at those students doing different systems, a child who is doing 844, let me tell you, Shelmy, their thinking is different from a child who is doing an American system.
Yeah.
Different from someone who is doing the British system, because they are being socialized to think in a certain way, to look at things in a different way. In 844, mathematics is a must.
Right.
Did you know there's a system in Kenya where mathematics is not a must?
No, I didn't know.
You can drop it immediately, even before you go to high school. So, yes. So to that child, they grow up knowing mathematics is not really like a big deal. I don't have to die about it. That is socialization academically. The other area that we can get socialized is financially. Financially. Here in Kenya, we always make a joke about Kikuyus. Kikuyus and money. And it is true. Somalis and money. It is very true. Very, very true. They are, when it comes to money and business, they are in the forefront. All right? Yeah. But when you come to the campus, we are really very serious in looking for jobs. And when we get that job, we don't leave. We are very loyal. We stay in one employment for 20 years, for 30 years. That's how we've been socialized. Right. But Kikuyu, yeye ni kutafuta pesa raka, next thing. One project after the other one. One business after the other one. They've been socialized to do business. I don't know how many Kikuyus don't do business. Maybe there are some. But it is not tribalism or anything. It is just a fact that Kikuyus have been socialized to make money. And to like money. They like money, which is a very good thing. I admire them. Yeah. And even you hear people saying, when they start making money, you start them saying, nimekuwa mkikuyu siku hizi. True or false?
True.
They've been socialized financially. How they spent their money. You see the way another tribe, a very beautiful tribe in our country called the Luos, and money.
Yeah.
They don't have to have a lot of money. But the little money they have, you will know they have money, and they will spend it, and they will wear a very expensive suit and buy a very big TV. Yeah. When that Kikuyu is making a lot of money, you go to their house, they still have a 14-inch TV. Do you understand? Yeah. But they're living in their own house, not rented. Right. So we get socialized financially. The other area is sexually. I know this is a very sensitive topic when it comes to socialization. We do get socialized sexually in terms of our sexual orientation. And that is why for a very long time, it has been a taboo in Kenya, in Africa, for someone to be homosexual, for someone to think of being bisexual, where you can have a romantic or sexual relationship with both a man and a woman at the same time. That is being bisexual, or being homosexual, where you are in a relationship with someone of your same gender. And you see that it comes from socialization. In the Western countries, it has not been a big deal. And it's slowly seeping into Kenya, or should I say in a fast rate, it's seeping into Kenya. It is socialization, whereby you've been adopted by two men, and one is supposed to be your mother, one is supposed to be your father.
Yeah. And
you grow up in that family. A family with a mother and a father, but they are both of them. Yeah. They are male parents. And so you grow up knowing it's okay and it's normal for someone to be homosexual. So when it comes to your sexual orientation, you've been socialized, you can be gay.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Then the last one is mentally. You can be socialized mentally. Yeah. You've seen people thinking in a certain manner. And it really perplexes me. When you talk to some people, you can clearly hear that this person has been socialized to think in a certain manner. Always defeated mentality, or always a winner's mentality. They've been socialized. So those are some of the areas.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think when it comes to, can we just touch a little bit on, maybe it's on the effects. Let's talk in the effects, then I'll ask the effects of socialization from culture, academics, whatever. What are the effects that we experience through our socialization?
Shelmith, the effects of socializations can be both positive and negative. Because clearly, if you look at it, we are being socialized. We say it is the process of learning the norms and how to go about life in a society. And so you can learn and you can be socialized, and that socialization impacts you positively or negatively. And one of the ways that our socialization can affect you, or the effect, one of it would be identity. It gives you an identity. It can be positive, it can be negative identity. For example, I've talked about homosexuality. I've talked about bisexuality. I've talked about you looking at life. You've been socialized, and the strongest part of you which socialized you sexually was religion. Right. So if you are Christian, there is no homosexuality. So anything to do with homosexuality is a sin, it is bad. That's how you've been socialized. Yeah. Another child has been socialized. It is okay to be in a gay family and to have a gay partner. So the impact is on their identity. It can be positive, it can be negative. It can build you to be somebody who the society can look at and respect. It can be in a way that the society will look you and everybody will be frowning and stigmatizing you. So that is one effect. The other effect is on acquisition of societal norms. You know, because we are being socialized, then you're acquiring societal norms. These are the what is normal. How am I supposed to be dressing? Yeah. When you come to Kenya, Nairobi, Central, Ukambani, we all dress up. I've heard stories, I've never been there, I would like one day to visit there. I hear there are some parts in Kenya and in other parts of Africa where we have tribes that walk naked. And that's how they've been socialized. And it's not a big deal. The norm there, to them it is normal to walk naked. Maybe just a small covering around their private area. But the rest of the parts, their waist upward, it's not a big deal, whether female or male. That's how they've been socialized. So acquisition of societal norms is the other effect. All right? Then the other effect is acquisition of maladaptive, and this one is very, very serious. Acquisition of maladaptive behaviors when it comes to conflict resolution. You get to have the effect of, how do I resolve conflict? What have I learned in terms of, this is how we resolve conflict? For example, you've watched, every time that your mother and your father had a conflict, your father used to beat your mother. So for you, you've grown up knowing that to resolve a conflict, you have to fight.
Yeah, right.
You have to beat somebody. So that would be the effects.
Yeah. And can we talk of codependency in that category? Codependency, where it's you're over-reliant on another person because of
the way you've been socialized.
Yeah.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, in a very big way. Yeah. And you know, some of these things, they don't really come out clearly until after the age of youth. Yeah. After you get married, when now you become, you see, life is a process, just like socialization is a process. Yeah. And you get to the point where now you become a person of your own. Yeah. And now you leave your mother's house and you go and you sing lullabies to your child the way you are being sung, the way you saw your mother singing to your small sister. And then even the way you serve your husband, the way you used to see your mother serve your father. And then you expect your husband to provide the way your father was providing, right. The sole provider in that family. Yeah. Yet we are living in a generation whereby the current man, unfortunately, and I have to put disclaimer, unfortunately, the current young men we have, they want to share financial obligations with their wives, 50-50. Yeah. And this girl has been socialized, and I'm a very good example to that, a living example. This girl has been socialized that it's the man who provides. So when you tell me to pay rent, oh my goodness, I'll divorce you. I'll go back to my father. Right. It is a no-go zone. But then there's somebody else who was brought up and socialized by a single mother. And so paying rent is not even a big deal. Right. Or even by both parents, but she used to see them split bills. And so it really comes in at handy where now I become a codependent. That for this marriage to do well, you have to do what I saw my parents do. Right. If you don't do that, then this is not going to work. And that is why you see when people choose partners for marriage, they tend to look for partners who will rhyme to their socialization. So they codepend on each other. You can understand me, I can understand you. I am feeding, and it's unfortunately if the codependency is on the negative side. Right. Where you know that in our family we are polygamous. So even the lady who's been married, she's prepared and willing to have a second wife being brought in for her. Yeah. Or you know that if your husband is not beating you, then he doesn't love you. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. So yes, codependency comes out very clear. Yeah. And unfortunately, you know what is the brother and sister of codependency? Narcissists. True. Yeah. If you are a codependent, most likely you are going to attract a narcissist. Yeah. And narcissists are the hardest people you can live with. True. Whether it's a narcissist husband or wife, or father or brother, You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to attract a narcissist in your life,
Yeah.
deal with your codependency issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, even before marriage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But do you even know you are a codependent? Or do you even know you are a narcissist yourself in the first place?
Can you learn through other like relationships, just friends?
Yes.
I think you can learn, and if they are honest enough, they can tell you, I think you have an issue here.
Can I ask you a question, Shelmith? I know you're the one asking the questions here, but can I ask you a question? And I'm waiting for that show to come up.
Okay.
I have a list of clients who are telling me, both male and female, Messi, I've been meeting a very, very good girls, a wife material. I am now 42 years, I'm now 38 years, and I don't seem to get married. What is my problem? How come I'm not settling down? How come I'm not marrying? And surely that girl was good, the other one was good. This man is good, the other one is good. How come do I have commitment issues, or exactly what are the issues here?
Yeah.
You need to check yourself. We all need to check ourselves.
True.
Please, if you are watching, don't do premarital counseling when you are planning for your wedding. Don't come to me. If you are planning your wedding in the next 3 months, and then you are like, oh, Mercy, our pastor said we need to do premarital counseling. What if I come and find you are not compatible? Then you'll tell me I am the enemy of your progress.
True.
So you do premarital counseling now when you have nobody in your life. So that you can understand who are you, what is your identity, what are some of the socializations that you need to kick off. Because some of the things we've said, socialization can have negative effects. Those negative effects will come biting you if you don't deal with them. But they will even bite you more harder and deeper into your skin if you don't know that you have been socialized and it has impacted you negatively.
True.
Yes.
Thank you for making that point, and it's such a good point. And
Mwache
clear.
could date for 7 years,
Yes.
Jumping from one boy and one girl to another.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Are you waiting for a girl who will have 5 legs? Am I the one who can cook like a chef and can drive like I don't know to say who? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you, but you don't know. And so you keep on saying, God's timing. And maybe God's timing pitted you kitambo because you didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
It's because you have an issue that you need to resolve.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So please, let's do premarital counseling.
Yeah.
Like right now, you are not dating. Are you dating?
No.
Please come for premarital counseling. Okay?
Yeah.
Good.
That's the importance of counseling.
Oh, yes.
And it's important. You don't have to be in a dark place so that I can come to see
yes.
you.
Like right now, are we waiting for Corona to bite us? Are we not taking the lemons and ginger and everything?
We are.
So let's prevent broken marriages before they begin.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Let's take preventive. Let's do preventive counseling than curative counseling.
Exactly.
Let's go back to socialization.
True. So the burden of socialization. Talk to us about the burden that we experience from socialization.
Wow, Shelmith, you are really throwing me to the deep end. Socialization and the burden. Where do I even begin? Where do we start feeling the burden of socialization? Like, where do we start saying, I wish I learned better. I wish I knew how to do things different, because that is when now the burden comes to us. And like I said, imagine most of the times, it's not until we now graduate from adolescent to youth, and then you're dating one person to the next. That is when you should start seeing the signs of you have burden of socialization. When you realize that you have been dating for 8 years and you're not committing, you're not even engaging this person. When you are doing a come we stay, not marrying in the right way, then you know there's a burden of socialization, because there's a conflict of your culture, what you've learned and how you've been socialized religiously and how you've been socialized academically. There's a conflict. You've seen people behave in a way and you wonder, this one has a PhD, how can they even behave like that? Because there's a gap between the academic socialization and their religious socialization and their mental socialization. So you have to unite the three, of the 4 or the 5 areas of socialization. So the burden is heavily felt in marriage. Right. When you go there and you have been brought up in a liberal family where your brothers have been helping with the house chores and washing dishes, and now you marry a purely traditional African man who cannot even lift a spoon from the dining table. So
there will be a problem.
There is a problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to really have to deal with it. So it clearly comes during the youth, the dating years, and during marriage. That is when you actually feel the burden. And how do you know about it? Is by looking at, you are very educated, but the way you are doing things, the way you are running your life, everybody is wondering, what is wrong with you? Okay? Yeah. Or you are driving a very big car, and I have nothing against big cars. I love big cars. And when I get to your house, your pillows are all torn and all that. Yeah. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
Or you hold a very big title. You are a CEO of a company. And then I come to your house, and running your house is a problem. Because you've been socialized financially, and it was strong financially, but you are not socialized to be a wife material. Or depending on what you think a wife material is, according to your culture, according to your upbringing, what you are calling the socialization. So the burden can really be very tough. But the question is, how do we deal with it?
Yeah, how do we shake off all that, especially when the effects are negative? Mm-hmm. How do I shake it off?
I always say this. Socialization is like personality. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's like personality. If you are a very quiet person, and you're in a relationship with a talkative person, and this person keeps on getting bored, they want you to talk. You have to sit down and plan together. Yet you cannot plan because you cannot talk. You only have one sentence in one day. Is it not going to affect your relationship? So what do? Anything that we learn from the time we are born, we can unlearn it. Shell myth, we can learn it. Even our personality, and unfortunately, most of our personalities are default personalities. You are talkative, like in my case, because of your profession, or because you got married and then you had to deal with house helps, you had to deal with babies running around, and you had to keep on shouting and telling people, stop doing that, stop doing this. So eventually, what happened? You became talkative, and initially used to be quiet. That tells me you can unlearn your personality. So you can also unlearn some of the things that you've learned. Right. Part of your socialization. Yeah. If you've been socialized as a man, that you cannot go to the kitchen and cook, and then you get this wife, and during her pregnancy, she's really suffering so much. Okay? Yeah. And you also don't want to see a house girl in that house, yet you still don't want to go to the kitchen and cook. Shake it off. Shake it off. Shake that bit of socialization. Use your academic socialization now, which tells you that you too can be a chef, you too can go to the kitchen, you can cook for the sake of having a healthy relationship with your spouse.
True.
This issue of, I cannot eat food cooked by the maid, my clothes cannot be washed by the maid. Wait until your wife dies. Or wait until she gets sick. What will you do? Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not really so much in the case of men, but I've come to realize that when it comes to socialization, men tend to hold so hard onto negative socialization that they acquired. They acquired a way of going about life which compromises the quality of their relationships, and especially family relationships. You find the way they are treating their girlfriends and their wives, they are treating them in a manner that is so wanting. And so there's always having a conflict in that marriage, a conflict in that relationship, just because the way they were socialized. Get out of it, shake it off. Yeah. Anything that is affecting your work, affecting your relationships, affecting your events, just shake it off. Right. So that you can be healthy. Yeah. And so that you can live a better qualitative life.
Totally. And because this is such an eye-opener, just to conclude, tell us how to respond to this topic.
Well, it is very important that we've talked about socialization. So the best way we can respond to our topic today, each one of us, can we sit, young or old, can we sit and introspect? Can we have an inward look of our lives? Can we ask ourselves the following question? 1, how have I been socialized in the different areas? Take a book, take a pen, note them down. How have I been socialized culturally, religiously, and traditional culture? How have I been socialized academically, mentally, financially? How have I been socialized? And the way I've been socialized, this is question number 2. The way I've been socialized, is it helping me do life in the current society with ease? Or is it conflicting? Is it giving me a lot of trouble in the current society we are in? Because we have to admit, we're in a society that is different from the way it was when I was growing up in the 70s. So, is it conflict? Is it giving you some very sharp corners that you cannot negotiate? If the answer to that question is yes, then reevaluate your socialization. Evaluate the effects of your socialization. Evaluate what you have learned right from childhood. See what you can shake off so that you can have a better qualitative life, a more productive life in all areas of your life. What you need to unlearn it. And that is the shaking off. Yeah. Then learn a different way of doing things. That is what we call relearning. That behavior which you've learned, unlearn it and relearn a new one so that you can be able to fit in this society in a better way. Because at the end of it all, let me tell you, Shelmith, it doesn't matter how many years I've remained married. It doesn't matter how many babies I get. It doesn't matter how many prayers I do. What matters at the end of the day, it is the quality of life that you lived. And that quality can only be dictated by how you are going about life. And how you go about life is based on how you learned how to do life through socialization.
Well, I have enjoyed this topic and this discussion, but that comes to our end of our today's show. Until next Friday, thank you for watching. Bye.